Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Chad, give him a sheet for the song. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Vajracharya Ashtotar Tadashi Srimad. His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. And Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Vajracharya Ashtotar Tadashi Srimad. His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Bhakti Chad, I seem to have left my bag hanging on the wall there.
One other thing, you know what his name is?
I should.
Chad.
No way. We got two Chads.
Chad 1, Chad 2.
Are you Chad 2 or Chad 1? I don't know if you remember the 2000 election in the United States. Yeah, the hanging Chads. Some of our guests may not know what that is, but it's okay. Okay, very interesting. Yeah, right. All right, let me just get this together. Sorry. All right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Namo Bhagavate
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, one second. Okay. On this 15th day of January, 2025 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in chapter 18, conclusion, the perfection of renunciation. Text number 16 on page 671. Tatraivam sati kartaram atmanam kevalam tuyaha pashyati akrita buddhidvan nasa pashyati durmatihi tatvaivam sati kartaram atmanam kevalam tuyaha pashyat akrita buddhitvan nasa pashyati durmatihi tatraivam sati kartaram atmanam kevalam tuyaha pashyat akrita buddhitvan nasa pashyati durmatihi tatraivam sati kartaram atmanam kevalam tuyaha pashyat akrita buddhitvan nasa pashyati durmatihi. Tatraivam sati kartaram atmanam kevalam tuyaha pashyat yakrita buddhitvan nasa pashyati durmatihi. Tatraivam sati kartaram atmanam kevalam tuyaha pashyat yakrita buddhitvan nasa pashyati durmatihi. Ladies. Tatraivam sati kartaram atmanam kevalam tuyaha pashyat yakrita buddhitvan nasa pashyati durmatihi. Tatraivam sati kartaram atmanam kevalam tuyaha pashyat akrita buddhitvan nasa pashyati durmatihi. Go ahead. Tatraivam sati kartaram atmanam kevalam tuyaha pashyat yakrita buddhitvan nasa pashyati durmatihi. Not yet, Hina? Okay. Tatra, there, evam, thus, sati, being, kartaram, the worker, atmanam, himself, kevalam, only, to, but, yaha, anyone who, pashyati, sees, akrita buddhitvat, due to unintelligence, na, never, saha, he, pashyati, sees, durmatihi, foolish. Translation. Krishna says, therefore one who thinks himself the only doer, not considering the 5 factors, is certainly not very intelligent and cannot see things as they are. Purport. A foolish person cannot understand that the Supersoul is sitting as a friend within and conducting his actions. Although the material causes are the place, the worker, the endeavor, and the senses, the final cause is the Supreme, the Personality of Godhead. Therefore, one should see not only the four material causes, but the supreme efficient cause as well. One who does not see the supreme thinks himself to be the doer. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandana Salakaya Chakshu Urmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara, the disciplic succession. So, it's worthwhile reviewing these 5 elements of action. In text 14, we learned that the place of action, the body, the performer, that's the soul, the various senses, the many different kinds of endeavor, and ultimately the Supersoul. These are the 5 factors of action. So, one of the things that's not mentioned here is the false ego. False ego is a very important part of our identity. We learn from other places in the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, etc., that the soul is eternal, full of knowledge, full of bliss, never born, never dies. That we learn right at the beginning of Bhagavad Gita. But we also learn that the soul has forgotten his real identity. We forget that. We identify ourselves with, generally, in Maya, in illusion, with the body, just like the animals do. The cat is sure he's a cat. The dog is positive he's a dog. And they act like it. Dog will chase the cat will run away from the dog, you know. So they're completely in illusion, and they don't have the intelligence as human beings do to think any other way. That's just the nature. Essentially, they're the same as we are. Every living entity is the same, the soul. The particle, the angsha, and angsha is a very important word. It means a tiny little particle that nevertheless has the qualities of that of which it is an angsha. So Krishna says, Mama evangsha jiva loke, jiva bhuta sanatana. Manakshastan indriyani prakatistani karshati. So he's describing this. This is in 14th chapter, I believe, or 15th chapter. So mama eva angsha, every living being is my part and parcel, particle of me. Essentially, as souls, we're of the same quality as the Supreme Soul, Krishna. It's like a drop of water from the ocean, or a ray of sunshine has a little bit of heat, a little bit of light, you see? But the sun has infinite light, infinite heat. The ocean has more or less infinite water. So we're minute. And because we're minute, we have the tendency to be illusioned about who we are and identify with our external body. And that's called the false ego, the false sense of self. And then what are the basic characteristics of that false ego? Aham mameti, I and my. You see? I am this body, and that in relation to this body is mine. That which I could control for my, it's related to me for my sense gratification. So that's there in the human being, it's there in the cat and the dog, it's there in the whale and the elephant and the fish and everything. So that false ego is what keeps us bound to this world. Because if you identify with the body, then the interests of the body, what the soul and what the senses are looking to enjoy, that's your field of enjoyment. Now we know, we soon learn in this material life that along with the enjoyment, there's also the negative thing, the fear, the danger. You see? That's the other side of ahankar. Ahankar means I'm the doer. I'm not forgetting about God or anything again. I'm the actor, I'm the enjoyer, I'm the controller. So the other side is, but if I'm the body, then when there's danger to the body, there's danger to me. And I either have to fight it or flee from it. Fight or flight, right? That's it. Animals have that, you see. I take this walk. So many experiences on this walk. I bring it. I'm the walk in the morning at 6:30. And it's been so cold, to see these poor homeless people in the cold, they're trying to stay warm. But then sometimes there's birds, I used to see a lot more of them, but I saw a bunch of seagulls, going, and crows, because, I don't know if you know this. I'm becoming more attuned to street life because I spend like half an hour every morning. So there's a reason why there's hardly any public trash bins, because these poor guys, they want to go through there. They can get a few cans. I don't know. I used to give a nickel. Maybe they're giving 15 cents now per can. So they take all the trash, put it on the, throw it on the ground, and so nobody wants that. So there's very few of those on the street. But the birds also, they come in and do their thing. So I'm walking and Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare. So instinctively, as soon as I get near them, a certain distance, the crows, they fly off. This is their defense mechanism, to just flee, fight or flight, one or the other. So mostly it's flight with them. That's what they get. So this is an instinct. Now we say instinct, but it's coming from the Supersoul. These instinct, really, all of these impetuses to act in a certain way. The intelligence to do that is coming from the Supersoul. He says, "Mattak smritir jnanam apohanancha." I am in the heart of everyone. Sarvasya chaham mridi sannivishto. Literally means I am in the heart of every living organism. And mattak, from me, come mattak smriti jnanam apohanam. Remembrance, and knowledge, and forgetfulness too. And so that's the instinct. If the moth has the instinct to go to the fire, to go to a light, and if it's actually fire in the campgrounds or something, they'll burn up, and somehow or other they're attracted by that, and then the body gets burned up and they go up a notch, I don't know, it's a little higher than a moth, but they're coming up to the bird. Oh, now I'm a bird, I graduated. So that's the what's going on all around us, and we're part of that because we've come through it. But we have that special blessing of the higher intelligence. And we don't have to yield to simply the impulses of what seems to be good at the moment. The Prabhupada introduces, and this is such an instructive, these two pairs of words, it's so much you can learn, Shreyas and Preyas. Shreyas and Preyas. Preyas is immediate pleasure, or planning to experience immediate pleasure. You see, that's also another thing. But it's based on the sensations, pleasurable sensations. That's prayas. Welcome, Hare Krishna. Darshan will be at 8:15. You're welcome to Darshan of the deities will be at 8:15. Okay, you're welcome to stay for the class, which is on this side if you want to sit. Yeah, Chad number 1. You can. Listen, ladies, you have your benches over here. We'll give you books. Yeah. Yes, you can do that first. So it's very important to understand just where we stand, who we are, and what our situation is. So Krishna has described something that we all live with, which is the different understanding how we do anything. And he's given us these 6 elements. The place of action, which is the body. Actually, everything is going on with the body. Even when we see something out there is experiencing, it's a result of the light hitting our retina, right? In other words, everything's happening in the body. But we have the sense that it's going on out there, and we were related to it. So that's Adhisthana. And then the karta, the doer is the soul himself. You see? The soul. Karanam, the instruments are your active senses that you're working with, the voice and the hands and the legs, and the things like that. And what we commonly call senses, you learn in 3rd grade, the eyes, the ears, the nose, the touch, the sense of smell, those are important, obviously. And then there's the endeavor. We get an idea. It's interesting, how do we do anything? Well, is that those 3 that I mentioned last night, the thinking, feeling, and then willing, right? Everything that we do, thinking, feeling, willing. Oftentimes there's hardly any thinking, it's just like a gut reaction, right? A feeling. I want to do it, Now you can get into a lot of trouble with that, right? Oh, let's go have some fun, you have your friends, sure, and before you know it, you're doing something that could be harmful to yourself. Intoxication or whatever. So therefore, association is essential for forming your consciousness. There's this wonderful phrase from the 2nd chapter, Sangat Sanjayate Kama. Now, in the flow of the verse is Krishna describing how the soul gets entangled in the material world. Very, very instructive. Dhyayato Vishayan Pungsa. The pumsa, the living being, is meditating on the objects of the senses, things that can be enjoyable. Dhyayato, dhyana yoga is the same idea. You become absorbed in something that's attracting your senses, or you enjoyed it before, now you can enjoy it again, Dhyayato vriyam pumsa sangasche, and then you become attached. You become more attached, just thinking about it, right? Contemplating, maybe it's right in front of you, or hearing about it. Sangastesh, sangat sandaje kama, and the more that you contemplate and become attached, you can go to kama. Now, kama isn't just sex desire, but it's any strong desire. I really want to, buy this or enjoy it. So this is you're getting entangled, separate from Krishna. He's not in the picture this time. Sangat kama, krodho vijayate. Now, inevitably, there comes a point of frustration. Sometimes it's just satiation. That's not really krodha. But this is describing where there's something that's impeding you getting something you really want. And this is a source of anger. This is krodha. Now, anger can be a very destructive force. It's mostly in the mode of ignorance. And that means you'll do something that you ordinarily wouldn't do. How many people are wasting away in jail because they did something out of character and they hit somebody or they even killed somebody by accident? Oh, what did I do? Prabhupada tells a story on the tape how a father was approached a judge and begged for his son had been sentenced to be executed for the murder of his other son. They had a fight, and we can imagine that, Anyway, I don't want to recall a little pastime from my childhood when I thought my brother was going to kill me. But anyway, we won't go there. But, that probably happens in every family, right? One brother is 4 years older, the other is younger. So anyway, he actually, I don't know what it was. He probably didn't say what the argument was, but it's something that, so he kills his brother. And he gets arrested, and he's prosecuted and convicted, and he's going to be executed. So the father approaches the judge. He lost one son already. The other son is going to, his only 2 sons. So the judge commuted the sentence to life imprisonment, like that. But the whole thing grew out of something. Maybe one brother stole the other brother's girlfriend. Who knows what it was? But the anger, you can do things that you ordinarily wouldn't do. And that's why the anger is said to be under the mode of ignorance. You're not thinking of the consequences. You're just raging out and you're doing something. So krodha bhavati sammohat, from anger can become complete bewilderment. Sammoha. Sammohat smriti vibhrama. And you forget. You lose your memory from this bewilderment. And smriti bhrangshat buddhi nasho. And then your intelligence becomes eclipsed, and you fall into the material pool. So Krishna is describing this degradation of the soul. How it can be very dangerous in the material. So what's the alternative? The alternative, the whole thing depends on your attention. What you focus your attention on. So yoga means to withdraw your attention, your consciousness from matter and put it on spirit. Now, all yogis are trying to do that. But unless you put your consciousness on the Supreme Spirit, Krishna, who's all attractive, you won't be able to continue remembering or focus there, especially if you're still in a material environment. That's why when you practice Ashtanga Yoga, which is really just a test of will, whether you can do all these things in the pranayama and live alone and, and control the lower self by the higher self and fix it on the Supersoul, But you don't have all of the aids and you don't have all of the facility of the Bhakti Yogis. Because what's easier, to withdraw your mind, from something that's materially very attractive and put it on, the void? Or to withdraw your mind from material activity and put it on the all-attractive form and name and qualities of Krishna. You see the difference? It's practical. And in fact, there's a part of the Bhagavad Gita where that takes place. Chapter 6 is all about this dhyana yoga. Dhyana yoga means meditative yoga. And there's a little, summary description of the Ashtanga, a 8-limbed yoga, beginning with yam and niyam. Yama is the don'ts. You have to first stop doing what's an impediment before you can do what you have to do, right? So that yama and niyama. The don'ts and the do's. All right, don't live in the big city. Go to the country, to a secluded place. So traditionally, the yogis, they'll go up into the Himalayas, you know. All right, I did that. Now what do I do? Okay, sit. How do I sit? You sit back straight. Look at between the eyebrows. I never could do that. You get it cross-eyed. But anyway, I used to close my eyes and, you know, visualize the point here. I practice this a little bit before going to work. And all right, it's not so hard to sit up straight like that. And then there's the breathing, the pranayama. That's a very nice way of calming the mind if you practice it. Even, you know, but this is meant to, you know, really withdraw the mind from the externals so that you can place it on the Supersoul. But after all, you know, you're all alone there. Prabhupada describes it. These wonderful lectures on the 6th chapter. It was made into a whole series, the meditative yoga system, I guess one of the yoga systems tapes. So he's describing it, and you're sitting there, you know, he says, but then you're all alone, and you're in a forest, you're in a jungle. So what was it? What was that sound? Was that a snake coming? Or maybe a lion? You know? All right, back to who's that? What's going on? You know? So therefore you're sent to sit on a deer skin. Now, of course, you get a deer skin from a deer that died naturally. Okay, but you're still sitting on a deer skin. And who knew? Prabhupada says that the deer skin has some chemical properties that repels the snakes and the lions and things like that. So you can be more at peace. Oh, I'm on the deer skin, I'm safe. You know. But just see how many of us could even contemplate doing that, you know? It's just not for the masses. It's for a few people can do it. And Prabhupada explains there's still some Orthodox yogis doing that. They come down out of the mountains of the Himalayas when the Kumbh Mela comes, you know, right? And it's funny. There was once National Geographic. Have you ever seen that magazine? So they do, you know, so one year they did a special on the Kumbh Mela. And on the cover was, I don't know if it was a lady or a man or something, but they had Ram's name, you know, tattooed on their face. You know, this was the cover of it. That was exotic, you know. Oh, let me think, what's that? So Prabhupada then described, because he lived in Allahabad for 13 years. So he would sometimes attend. It's inconceivable. You know, 30 million people come from all over India. Now it's more. And how much? 60 million? but you know, and they have, you know, they have mail and everything, and they have electricity they put up. The army is there to keep peace. You know, it's incredible. So why do people come? Mostly they come to get liberation, isn't it? I think because at a certain point, it's in January, it's cold, you know, right? And you bathe, right, at a certain, in the confluence. Huh?
Very cold.
Very cold. You've been there? Yeah. Anyway, so Prabhupada took the devotees there, you know, not to bathe at the time, you know, but to get liberation. Because, you know, after a while, you don't care about liberation. You're already liberated, you know. But to do preaching, to do Harinam, and especially prasadam distribution, very popular, you know. So anyway, so that's Ashtanga Yoga is not practical. So at the end of the chapter, which is quite detailed, you know, Arjuna says, no, I can't do it, you know. Chanchalamhi mana Krishna pramati balavadvritam. We can all relate to that verse. The mind is very obstinate, very powerful, very flickering here and there. What do you think? What is that? The train of thought. You know, you get on the train of thought and you go out. You don't know where you're going. You know, you're sitting in a classroom, 4th grade. Tommy, what are you thinking of? You're looking out the window. Come on, we're studying the. So that's the mind. The mind can be the worst enemy or the best friend. So if it's not controlled, it can take you from here to there. So therefore, Arjuna says, I can't do it. And then Krishna says, yes, you can, with the practice, you know. He says, well, okay, but what if I fail? You know, I will have given up my household life and my fighting life, you know. I went the yoga and I failed in both. I'm like a riven cloud, you know, what's the use? So he says, don't worry, there's no loss. What is it? Suchinam Srimatam Gehe Yoga Brashta Vijayate. That if whatever you succeeded, will, in next life, you'll get born in a very pure family, Brahmins or something, or a wealthy family, but pious, so that you won't have to worry about your maintenance, you can have time, So Arjuna's not very hopeful, he's not very positive. So then at the end of the whole chapter, Krishna says, Yoginam ati sarvesham madgaten antaratmana shraddha bham bhajate yom mam same yuktamomata. But the greatest yogi, who is always worshiping, who's always thinking of me within his heart and worshiping me with great faith and bhakti. You see. So Arjuna sighs relief. Oh, here's Krishna, my friend. I'm always thinking of Krishna, you see. So he's in good shape. But then the next verse number 1 in the 7th chapter, Krishna says, okay, now he's speaking to us. Prabhupada said the middle 6 chapters of the Gita are the essence of the whole book. And it starts with the 7th chapter. So he says, my asakta manaparta yogam yunjan manashaya asangshayang samagramam yata gyasati mat tat trinu. The last word is here for me now. So he says, my asakta manaparta. Now I'm going to tell you how you can naturally and more easily have your mind become more and more attracted to me. You see? Rather than this artificial thing of going alone and performing these severe austerities, and then mostly failing. So it's practical for everybody, and that's what we need. So what Krishna starts doing is he's not describing our environment. These are the 8 material elements. Our bodies are made of them: earth, solid matter, all the bones and everything; water or liquids in general, blood and other things; earth, water, fire, the fire of digestion, and like that. Earth, water, fire. Air, we're breathing in and out. We learned how important that is in the pandemic, right? And we probably forgot. You just take it for granted. Yeah? Earth, water, fire, air. Ether. Space. Space is another element. It becomes more and more subtle as you go up. And then there's the really subtle elements. We all have a mind, right? But no one can see each other's mind. But mind is very important. And then intelligence. And then the false ego, what I spoke of, the ahankara. These are the 8. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, intelligence, mind, false ego. And then there's the soul. This is the soul who's within all of this, you see. So this is who we are. I mean, this is what our real environment is, the body, and then we interact with the other environment. So now Krishna says, besides these elements, which are all inanimate, this is not alive, the air is not alive. There's the apare mitastvanyam. These are the apara, the non-transcendental elements. Prakritim vidhime param, but there's another prakriti, nature. Jiva bhutam mahabhav yedam dayate jagat, which consists of all the jivas, the jiva souls. That's us. And we're sustaining, each of us is sustaining our body, you see, which is like a little universe. Just like Krishna is sustaining the whole universe, because we're here, we're sustaining the body, you see. As soon as we leave, boom, it reverts to those elements. It's a dead body. So then he says, then he starts describing, now here's how we can remember Krishna easily in our daily life. Rasoham apsukonteya pabashmi sachisuya. I am the taste of water. I am the light of the sun and the moon. I am the ability in man. He goes through, I'm the fragrance of the earth. He goes through all the senses, you see. How can he say, I am this, I am that, you see? Because when you analyze it, where did it come from? These are his energies, right? Your sense of smell, that's also created by Krishna. Your mind, and the elements that are producing those things, that's also him. So in a very important sense, that's him. Just like if I knew who carved that bench over there, I don't know, but I know who bought it, right? So if I'm aware, I said, oh, that nice Bhakta Joseph, he bought these benches when he came, So an important, whenever I walk into the temple, I can think of Bhakta Joseph. Or I can look at these wonderful paintings and the deities, of course, and the holy name that's reverberating, and all of these things remind us of Krishna. They bring us back to, and it's not some imagination thing. It's actually a fact that this is what, I was looking at this because I chant japa in this temple every morning, and you realize that this is not an ordinary chair. This is not an ordinary wall. This is not an ordinary floor, because it's all there to serve Krishna. So everything in this temple is meant to remind you of Krishna. and give you a way of serving Krishna, right? We have these instruments here. Sometimes I wish we didn't have them out so publicly, because on Sunday night all the kids grab the cartels and you think, okay, but they want to serve, they think, oh, I want to participate, which is healthy, But the whole thing, it's all, and that's a little mini spiritual world. The whole spiritual world is there out of Krishna's will and Krishna's desire. And in Goloka, the supreme world, it's all this idyllic place, the temperature is right. There's no forest fires there. Well, sometimes it seems to be one on the earthly Vrindavan. Krishna swallows it up. We needed Krishna up in LA, right? Swallow up the forest fire. But no, this is a material world. You have to suffer So back to our shlokas here now. So Krishna is giving us a little analysis now of the different elements of what we do, our activity. And ultimately, it's the Supersoul. He's giving us the intelligence, and he's sustaining. Vishnu sustains everything in our body. Each of us has God within. It's very, very wonderful. And we want to. Krishna consciousness means more and more to attune our activities with the desire of the Lord. That's what the whole Bhagavad Gita is. Is that Krishna is convincing Arjuna to fight something that he didn't want to do at all at the beginning. But he sees ultimately that this is most auspicious not only for me, but for the whole world. And he surrenders to Krishna. So the Krishna consciousness means we understand all these elements that we do have control over, our senses, our mind, and Krishna is encouraging us to use them in such a way that we progress to the point where we don't have to be in this artificial, actually, environment of material life. We're not meant to be in these mortal bodies and be restricted in this way. We're meant to be in our spiritual bodies. We have this is a covering that we have our spirit. It's Swarup Siddhi, it's called. Our eternal life, where we can relate to Krishna in our specific way. Each of us has a personal relation with Krishna for eternity. And enjoying what we're trying to enjoy here, but sporadically and failed, which is rasa, even with inanimate things, right? There's so much, some people, they spend their life on the, hours and days on the video games, and they're completely, absorbed in that. In fact, even hear stories, I don't know if it's still happening, I think it's, in Japan or South Korea, where they have much faster and much cheaper internet, so you can get into it, and the poor guy goes, to the store with all of the terminals there, and he's sitting down, he's playing his game, and you get so into it, you forget to eat, and you die, and your head goes down. It happens, and the other guy sitting next to you, he's absorbed too. He doesn't even notice. It's crazy. But it's like a metaphor for what happens for everyone in the material world. You become so absorbed in your identity as the body, and then you have other bodies that you have this relationship very strong, and that's the most important thing. But ultimately, time pulls it apart, and it's asat. We want to go to the sat, right? Asato mam sadgamaya, right? Don't I have it right? It's like that. Asato mam sadgamaya, it's a gamaya. Don't stay in the temporary, ever-changing world of pain, birth, age, old age, disease, and death. Come to the Sat, the eternal spiritual life world. This is only a reflection of the spiritual world. We want to go to the real thing. And so when we hear about it, and if you come in touch with someone who's experiencing a moment to moment, and that was Prabhupada's great power, Very humble Vaishnava, comes to a strange city for a whole year. He struggles to just get some, foothold there. But then when he found some receptive souls who were ready to hear him and chant the holy name. That chanting is the beginning. It's a commitment, and Krishna is there in his holy name. This is incredible. It's Nama Chintamani Krishna's Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purnak Shuddho Nityamukto Abhinatvam Nama Namino. The holy name is like a Chintamani gem. Now, what's the special quality of the Chintamani gem? Prabhupada called it a touchstone, giving a new meaning to that word, which is really what you touch gold to it. So you touch the Chintamani gem to this nice wooden podium, and what happens? It becomes gold. Suddenly it's gold. Because then we'd have to lock it up, But but the point is, it changes you. So the holy name changes your consciousness. You touch it with your consciousness, and you become golden. You become purified. Chaitanya rasa vigraha is the very form of these rasas. In other words, you can purify your consciousness so that you again experience your eternal rasa with Krishna. We have to remember that. This is a very important point, that the perfection is already there within us. It's just a question of purification. Chaito darpana marjanam. That's the beginning of the Shikshastika, the essence of it. So, he says, Purnak Shuddho Nityamukto. It is complete, a complete process of yoga to perfect this chanting. You don't think you're missing out. Shuddho, very pure. The whole thing is purifying. The holy name is pure, and you associate with it, you become pure. Nitya, eternally liberated, and uncontaminated all by the material world. And why is that? Abhinadvan nama namino. This inconceivable fact was that the name and the named are equivalent. You know, we can't say that about us, right? Our name is different from who we are. But for Krishna, because he's absolute, if we chant the holy name and we learn how to avoid the offenses, and that's the whole sadhana, then we can more and more experience the blessing of the holy name, which is just Krishna's presence and and it reveals ultimately, if we do it right, our eternal relation with God. Krishna's not going to speak directly about chanting the holy name in the rest of this, but when we come to the point in the end of the chapter, always think of me, manmana, the best way in this age, and Prabhupada I think talks about it in the purport, is to chant the holy name. As it is said, this famous verse, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam, kalo nastyeva, nastyeva, nastyeva gatadanyata. If you want to achieve the supreme goal of life in this age, when dissension and chaos abound, there is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way that can ever be found but to chant Krishna's name, but to chant Krishna's name, but to chant Krishna's name with a stout-hearted vow, and to pray, O Lord Krishna, O friend of the poor, let my head ever unto your lotus feet bow. I put some things in there that weren't in the original verse, but okay. Any questions on this verse? I think we just read one verse, 16. Yes, bro.
Krishna is telling that the 5 causes of actions. So one of the Supersoul means Krishna himself. So does it mean that whenever we do bikarma or some sinful activity, that is also being sanctioned by Krishna?
Well, yeah, in a sense that he's allowing us to do that. In other words, this is one of the important understandings. People say, well, why would Krishna let us fall from the spiritual world? Why didn't he just grab us by the scruff of the neck and just keep us there? Because the whole rasa, the relationship with Krishna, depends on our freely doing it. Prabhupada famously said, Krishna doesn't want us to love him at the point of a revolver. Love me or else, No. He's given us his free will. And if we misuse it, then we're going to suffer the consequences. But Krishna doesn't abandon us. He's always there as a Supersoul. And periodically he comes himself. I always point out how fortunate we are be living at this time on this planet, because Krishna just came 5,000 years ago. He comes once every day of Brahma. How long is that? Remember? 24 hours? Yes, 8,640,000,000 years. That's one day. What is 5,000 years compared to that? Less than the snap of a finger. And what to speak of Lord Chaitanya, who was also Krishna 500 years ago, practically our contemporary. So we're very fortunate, right, to have that so recently. And how fortunate we are that Bhaktivinoda Thakur revived the genuine Chaitanya Vaishnavism in the 19th century. Worked so hard, and he prayed, for Raya Vishnu, and Bhaktisiddhanta was born, So it's all Krishna's arrangement to give the chance to those wayward Kali Yugites to actually go back to guided, or at least make a lot of progress going back to guided. So we shouldn't waste the time, and accept this. One of the reasons, it all depends on faith. You have to have faith. So the important way of getting the faith, of course, is studying the books, but also to associate with those who are full of faith and experiencing it. And that was what what Prabhupada gave. He gave the books, he gave his chanting, but he also gave his own association. And he himself was personifying this principle, despite all that he was going through, his age and the difficulties and the Bombay thing where they tried to steal the land and they attacked the devotees and But he was determined, that I promised I'd build you a temple. There's a beautiful book Giri Swami wrote, I'll build you a temple. And Prabhupada went through all of that because of his love for the Lord. He was personifying what he was preaching. And therefore, his words and his personality and his books, everything has so much potency. Because he's speaking from that transcendental plane, and you could sense it in his presence. He had this other realm of existence that he was living on. So that's very important, especially when you're dealing with something that's so otherworldly. It's one thing if you walk into a gym and there's everyone's bulging muscles, and they say, okay, you want to sign up? Would you like to become a member? Yeah, I'd like to have muscles like that too. It's the same principle, but it's on a much different platform. But if someone is actually personifying, empathy and sympathy and love of God, and when Prabhupada would chant, you could see, then it builds faith, and you're willing to, enter onto the path and do those things, So Krishna is explaining here the different elements, and the one we read, those who think we're the only doer, not considering the 5 factors, is certainly not very intelligent, cannot see things as they are. So to always remember Krishna within and without, that's a very high platform of devotional service. But we always have to remember that, he's always within us and he's witnessing everything we do. But he's our best well-wishing friend. He's not some alien spy who's going to, give our passwords out, to someone so that they can rob us, But that, isn't it, the perverted reflection of it is that hacking into your, computer and getting, okay. The Supersoul. No. Krishna is the best well-wishing friend. He's always giving us good advice. And if we take it, now we can't hear him, so he comes externally as the books and as the guru to teach us the same thing. All right, let's read another one. Yasya nahankrito bhavo buddhir yasya nalipyate hatvapi sahima lokan Nahanti nanabadyate. Okay, so this is a contrast to someone who thinks he's the only doer. But one who is not motivated by false ego, whose intelligence is not entangled, though he kills men in this world, does not kill, nor is he bound by his actions. So he's killing, but it's on Krishna's order. This is the whole idea with Arjuna. He didn't want to kill because he thought he would get a sinful reaction. But he realizes now that he's completely under Krishna's control. He surrendered. And Krishna is all good. As he explained, why is he doing this? Paratanaya sadhunam vinashaya chadushkritam dharma sangstapanartaya sambhavama yuge yuge. Which is after comes the most famous verse, which everyone with an Indian body knows from childhood. Yadaya dahi dharmasya glani bhavati bharata abhyutanam dharmasya. Whenever and wherever there are discrepancies in the execution of dharma, religion, and our dharma has become ascendant, at that time I manifest myself. And then I do what he says in the verse first, I protect the devotees. I annihilate the miscreants, and I reestablish dharma. Now when he annihilates them, they don't disappear, they don't go to hell, They're blessed, because he's doing the annihilating. And that's an instant purification, they become liberated. They may not go back to Godhead, because they still have, but they're benefited. So that's the idea. One who is not motivated by false. So what do you be motivated by if you're not motivated by false ego? You're motivated by Krishna's ego. That's what surrender means. You're taking your cue from the Lord as to what you're going to do and how you're going to direct your life and how what you focus on. And soon you find that, this is a source of great happiness. Krishna's not leading me astray. He's leading me in such a way through his representatives in his books to a position of way beyond, the life of anxiety and a life of, peace and happiness. So even though he may kill, he's not killing. In this verse, the Lord informs Arjuna that the desire not to fight arises from false ego. Arjuna thought himself to be the doer of action, but he did not consider the supreme sanction within and without. If one does not know what a super sanction is there, why should he act? But one who knows the instruments of work, himself as the worker, and the Supreme Lord as the supreme sanctioner, is perfect in doing everything. Such a person is never an illusion. Personal activity and responsibility arise from false ego and godlessness, or a lack of Krishna consciousness. Anyone who is acting in Krishna consciousness under the direction of the Supersoul or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even though killing does not kill, nor is he ever affected by the reaction of such killing. When a soldier kills under the command of a superior officer, he is not subject to being judged. But if a soldier kills on his own personal account, then he is certainly judged by a court of law. So this is what the surrender means. It means to take one's cues, what to do and what not to do, from the higher authority of the Shastra and the Guru and Krishna himself, who are all, if they're all genuine, then they'll be in tune with Krishna. And the benefit is ultimately to everyone. Even the opposite party here is very clear that in the 11th chapter, the universal form, I think it's mentioned in the purports there, that everyone's going to be blessed, because Krishna is going to, arrange for their leaving the body, but because Krishna is present there, then they'll be exalted. It's not like an ordinary war, in this world. So this, it's very dramatic here on the battlefield, but the principles are universal for all of us. And eventually, when we get to the end of this chapter, Krishna will sum it all up in those two famous verses, which I'll give you right now. Manmana bhavamad bhakto vajjaji mam namaskuru mamai vaishasi satyam te pradijane piyosi me sarvadharman padatyajya mame kam sharanam braja aham tvam savapapebhyo mokshayisyami ma shuchaha. Just think of me, says Krishna. Just think of me, become devoted, worship me and bow down low. You'll come to me, O friend, I promise you this boon I shall bestow. Give up all dharmas and surrender only unto me. Your sins I'll nullify, O Arjun, from anxiety be free. So when those curtains open, you can concentrate on Radharani's right hand, because she has her hand like this. This is a mudra. You know the name of the mudra? Abhay Dan. Abhay Dan, the gift of fearlessness. Don't worry. You just surrender to us, you chant our holy names, you love us, everything's going to be just fine. You see? You can remember that when you see the curtains open. Okay, any final question or comment? Otherwise, we'll adjourn and have our... Go ahead, make it quick, because...
Hare Krishna. How would you describe the true ego versus the false ego?
Pretty simple. I am an eternal servant of Krishna, and my duty is to serve Krishna and Guru and the devotees, and to give up my sense of separation and personal interest. That's ultimately the real ego. And because Krishna is always blissful, anandamaya bhyasat, he's never unhappy. If we're dovetailing our activities, our thoughts, activities, and everything with his pleasure, then we'll always be blissful. That's the spiritual world. No one has to go to a psychiatrist for depression. You just go out and just chant Hare Krishna and everything turns out okay. Okay, all glory to Srila Prabhupada.
I have a doubt.